Okay, hello again, and welcome to Faith Night Friday. We're here already. Oh my God, time just goes by so fast, doesn't it? Okay, so where are we? You know what I forgot? I forgot my commentary. Hold on. I knew I was missing a book. And I always like to have this book because I'm learning at the same time you are. And I was sharing with my other viewers of how I read 3 Bibles a day. I have my original Bible study that I do in the morning, and then I do my other Bible, and it's a woman's. It's almost like a James King, but it's a modern translation for women. But I read that one with my with the study that I do. And then I have another one that is called 300 and Reading the Bible 365 days in a year. And with that one, I use this one. So I initially have three Bibles that I use. Hold on. So you always forget all these little things when you're trying to, get everything ready and. So anyway, so here we are. And right now what we're reading, I am still on 1 Samuel, and I'm getting towards the end now. I'm finally getting towards the end. So I am on chapter 30, and 1 Samuel ends at chapter 31. So that's the one that it ends with. So that's what we're going to read right now. Okay, so I'm just going to dive into here. And this one is a little bit of a long one, so I'm just going to keep a time on everything. And so I'm just going to start reading. So it's a little bit of a long one, so just bear with me. Okay? Okay, so here we go. So last week we read about how King Achish didn't want King David joining in his army in the battle because of, Saul still kind of like being king and David wasn't really king yet. And they were all like, no, because all the women were shouting and screaming, oh, King Saul killed so many thousands of men, but David killed a lot more than him. And, these women were shouting and, King Achish did not like that. So, we don't want any trouble, so send him away. Send him away. I have a little bit of a sore throat. But then we're going into the war against the Amalekites. So that's where we are. We're on chapter 30. So it says, 2 days later, David and his men arrived back at Ziklag. The Amalekites had raided southern Judah and attacked Ziklag. They had burned down the town and captured all the women. They had not killed anyone, but they had taken everyone with them when they left. They didn't kill anyone, they just raided everything and captured all the women. Okay, so let me grab my pencil with them. When David and his men arrived, they found that the town had been burnt down and that their wives, sons, and daughters had been carried away. Now this is David's clan, okay? David and his men started crying and did not stop until they were completely exhausted. Even David's 2 wives, Ahinoam and Abigail, had been taken away. David was now in great trouble because his men were all very bitter about losing their children, and they were threatening to stone him. They were threatening to stone David. But the Lord, his God, gave him courage. David said to the priest Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, bring me the ephod at Abiathar's, and Abiathar brought it to him. David asked the Lord, "Shall I go after those raiders and I will catch them?" He said, "No." "Shall I go after those raiders and will I catch them?" He answered, "Go after them. You will catch them and rescue the captives." So David and his 600 men started out, and when they arrived at Besor Brook, some of them stayed there. David continued on his way with 400 men. The other 200 men were too tired to cross the brook, and so stayed behind. The men with David found an Egyptian boy out in the country and brought him to David. They gave him some food and water, some dry figs, and 2 bunches of raisins. After he had eaten, his strength returned. He had not had anything to eat or drink for the 3 full days. David asked him, "Who is your master? And where are you from?" "I am an Egyptian, the slave of the Amalekite," he answered. "My master had left me behind 3 days ago because I got sick. We had raided the territory of the Shiranithites in the southern parts of Judah and the territory of the clan of Caleb, and we burned down Ziklag. Will you lead me to those raiders?" David asked him. He answered, I will if you promise me in God's name that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master." And he led David to them. The raiders were scattered all over the place, eating, drinking, celebrating because of the enormous amount of loot they had captured from Philistia and Judah. At dawn the next day, David attacked and fought until evening, except for 400 young men who mounted camels and got away. None of them escaped. David rescued everyone and everything that the Amalekites had taken, including the 2 wives. Nothing at all was missing. David got back all his men's sons and daughters and all the loot the Amalekites had taken. He also recovered all the flocks and herds. His men drove all the livestock in front of him and said, "This belongs to David." Then David went back to the 200 men who had been 2 weeks to go with him and had stayed behind at Besor Brook. They came forward to meet David and his men, and David went up to them and greeted them warmly. But some mean and worthless men who had gone with David said, "They didn't go with us, and so we won't give them any of the loot. They can take their wives and children and go away." But David answered, "My brothers, you can't do this. With what the Lord had given us, he kept us safe and gave his victory over to the raiders. No one can agree with what you say. All must share alike. Whoever stayed behind with the supplies gets the same share as the ones who goes into battle." David made this a rule, and it has been followed in Israel ever since. When David returned to Ziklag, he has sent part of the loot to his friends, the leaders of Judah, with the message, "Here is a present for you from the loot we took from the Lord's enemies." He sent it to the people. So not only did he get back everything that they had taken from him, but he even bought stuff that he took from the enemy. So they had even more, like double. So here's a present for you from the loot we took from the Lord's enemy. He sent it to the people in Bethel, to the people in Ramah, and into the southern part of Judah, and to the people in the towns of Jatir, Arir, I'm not saying that right, Sifmoth, Estemoa, and Rakel, to the clan of Jeremiel, to the Canaanites, and to the people in the towns of Hormah, Borishan, Athak, and Hebron. He sent it to all the places where he had his men, where he sent it to all the places where he and his men had roamed. Okay, so that is it for Samuel 30. 1 Samuel 30. So let's find out what the commentary has to say. So let's go over here, and we are going to Samuel, because I already did Samuel 29 last week, so we are right here at Samuel, 1 Samuel 30. So the commentary says, I wish I had more light, relieved that he had been discharged from the war, David returned to Ziklag only to find tragedy. From the war with Achish. So there are times when one problem follows hard on another. Had Saul slain the Amalekites as God commanded, this raid would not have occurred. Our disobedience can cause problems for others. A crisis does not make a person. It shows what a person is made of. Am I full? A person is made of like his men. Now let's read this again. A crisis does not make a person. It shows what a person is made of. Luke, like his men. David wept and sorrowed, but unlike some of his men, he did not look for a scapegoat. In times of crisis, express your feelings honestly, but do not look for somebody to blame. Rather, get your strength from the Lord and seek his will. He is in complete control. God uses the weak things of the world, even a sick boy who was left to die. When we do the possible, God does the impossible. The tragedy became victory with profits for everyone. So again, like he said, if Saul would have been obedient and if he would have done what he was supposed to do as be king, and take out the Amalekites like the Lord had told him, they wouldn't have had to fight this battle because it would have been gone and over with. But now, because the Amalekites came and attacked David and everything that was surrounding him. Now he wasn't king yet, so it might have been just his people. He might have been just, still just like a commander, like a soldier protecting everything. So, because I don't think he was king. He wasn't made king yet. That's where it becomes iffy. Like when did King David finally become king? Well, we'll get into that. But they came to Ziklag where he was at, and they took everything, including his wives. And he, like anybody else, when somebody comes to your place and takes everything that you had, including your precious dog or whatever, your kids or whatever, it's going to hurt, But he went into battle. He went, and instead of trying to finding a scapegoat, and I guess to send all of his men, he stayed behind. He went himself and got back everything. And not only everything, but then some. And he came back, and because he traveled through all these places, and he shared everything, that he had gotten, with him. So, yeah, it just goes to show that, sometimes, like it says, the tragedy became victory with profit for everyone. Yeah, it was a tragedy, but it was something that shouldn't have happened. But then regardless, they still came out victorious at the end. God was still there to help David. So, okay, so we're done with that. So, again, sometimes I feel like, I come on here and I try to talk just a little bit about where we are at in the world with what we are with what we are learning. And sometimes I feel like, these people, they went through so much, back way back then. And it kind of like, it goes to the extremes for sure. It goes to the extremes for sure. But we don't deal with that kind of situations anymore. Thank God. But we still find ourselves like, and still in these crises and things like that. But, and sometimes we don't even find ourselves in crisis at all. We hardly don't do anything at all. And which makes me think about like what are we really doing down here? Like seriously, what are we doing? Because sometimes when I look at things, I go, there's nothing really to do down here. Like seriously. I think I was talking last week about, being a citizen of the kingdom. And just like everybody who defects or comes from another country, they have to take classes and stuff, to take a test so you can become a citizen of America. Well, that's the same way with us. Once we become, followers of Christ, we become also citizens of the kingdom of Christ. So we have to figure out what all that entails, which gives us a big, like an enormous amount of like, okay, now that you know that you're from the kingdom, you got to do this, and that. But a lot of people don't know that. And more so because they're not a citizen of the kingdom. They're a citizen of here, the worldly state that we're in. And the worldly state that we're in is that the majority of the people here these days really don't have nothing to do. Like, really, yeah, we live, we die, That's it. That's our lives, And I think like, okay, well, there has to be something more to it. I mean, like, again, like I said, what is there really to do down here? Sometimes I feel like there's nothing really to do, like seriously, there is stuff to do. We go to work, we take our kids to school, we have parties, we get married, we get divorced, all that stuff. We go into debt. We go into, all these crazy things, We go to school. We have enormous of, classes that we run to. We have to run to work, run back, take care of the home. There's gobs things to do for sure. And, or, to make travel arrangements. You go visit this city, you go visit that country, and then you come back from jet lag, making memories, that's awesome. You take your kids, making memories, that's the life we live, right? We live to make memories. That's it. Okay, anyway, so, which is a great thing. I'm not saying it isn't. That's a great thing, to show how much your family took their time out of their lives to spend time with you, to be with you, to nurture you, whatever. But there still isn't nothing to do. So I was reading Martha. Do you remember Mary and Martha? They were the sisters that I think Martha opened her house to what do you call it? She opened her house to the Lord. And I thought it was like, this says a lot. This says a lot. So, because Martha, she opened, and I'm just going to read. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, and who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Like the cooking, the cleaning, the Lord is coming, we got to get this set up, I got to feed these people. She's going like all over the place. So she came to him and asked, Lord, just like, like I would feel like that too. Like, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Like, I'm doing all this. She's just sitting and she's not helping me. Like, can you tell her? Can somebody please tell her to help me? So, and then the Lord says, Martha, Martha. The Lord answered, you worry and upset about many things, but few things here are needed. But get this, because that's how we are, right? We're going all over the place. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're getting here, we're going there, we're going on, we're doing all this stuff. And you kind of like think like, why am I doing all this, So, but the Lord says, but a few things are needed. Just a few of our daily chaotic life is needed. But then he goes, but one more over. Or indeed, only one. Only one thing is needed in this world. Only one. And he goes, and Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. So that blew me away. Because I was like, as much of the things that we do in this world, he said only a few things are needed. But then again, no, not even a few, just only one. And that is to be at the feet of Jesus and learn everything that you can about what? The kingdom. The citizenship where you come from. Because then he's going to give you so many things to do. And it's not going to be like things here in this world. It's going to be things from a different world, a different perspective. I mean, this is where inventions come in. This is where innovations come from. This is when new ideas burst into your mind. This is what gets you going, But when we just sit around and not do anything or just do the mundane stuff, and then we come home and just watch reruns after reruns after reruns, then you start thinking, what am I doing? What is all this for? But when you start getting into this, he gives you a purpose. He gives you a reason. And it starts coming alive in you. So our main thing to do, and everything, he goes, and everything that you touch, everything that you do will be successful. As long as we abide by this and become citizens of the kingdom, a whole vast of a new world will be opened up to you. And then on top of that, we get to share it with others. And just, can you imagine everybody? And it will come to that. Oh my God, it will come to that. I'll share that more with you later. But that will happen. A lot of people are saying that, oh, Jesus is coming, and he's coming soon, and he's coming. Oh, that's true, he will. But not as soon as you think. There's still a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of the stuff in the Bible, that prophecy has not fallen at our doorstep yet. It's not here yet. It's coming. And you need to be aware of when. And you will, because once you get into this, you'll know the timeline of when certain things are happening. And I have one of those books. I'm going to dig it out and I'm going to show it to you of where we're at. Because the glory of God has not fallen on this earth yet. And we have to surpass that before everything else happens. So don't kid yourself. So many wonderful things are going to happen before the worst comes. But isn't it good to know that once you start being at his feet and start learning everything he wants to share for you, the wonderful and glorious things that you're going to share with other people is not only going to amaze them, it's going to amaze you as well. I'm excited. I really am. So, thank you for joining me today, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and yeah, we will see you next time on Faith Night Friday. Bye, guys.